Avalanche is too terrible. Too terrible before the huge waves. Suddenly a loud rumble tore through the air. The mountain began to move. Huge chunks of rock and earth crashed down like the wrath of nature. From afar, the wind howled like a warning cry of disaster. Sand flew everywhere, and sheets of rain fell like whips. Everything began to tremble, trees swayed, and the tin roofs shook violently. This was not just a storm, but a wrath of nature approaching. Those who had not yet taken shelter quickly sought safety. The house by the river was shaking violently. The floodwaters surged like a giant monster, swallowing every inch of land, and then boom, the whole house was lifted up, sliding down into the murky water to the horror of the onlookers. In just a few seconds, everything disappeared as if it had never existed. Rain were howling as if they were tearing the sky apart. Gusts of wind tore everything from the street, trees fell, and metal roofs flew away. The rain hit my face like a needle prick. The whole city seemed to be engulfed in a rage with no way out. The snowstorm, the roofs were filled with ice and snow that suddenly fell down. Just a few seconds, from the mountain, the black flood rolled down like a wild beast roaring and charging. Earth, rocks, trees, everything was swept away mercilessly. just a thunderstorm, but a wrath of nature is coming. Those who have not taken shelter yet, please quickly find a safe place. The tall tree on the side of the road suddenly fell down. The mountain suddenly collapsed, and rocks and soil covered the road like a giant wall blocking all paths. Amidst the smoke and dust and lurking danger, the workers rushed into the battlefield, sweat mixed with mud. They had only one mission: to clear the road for the jammed traffic. Explosion rang out, and in an instant, the entire bridge shook violently and collapsed like a broken steel dragon. Concrete fragments flew everywhere, smoke and dust billowed, and the river below swallowed up every piece of debris. This was no accident, it was deliberate destruction, ruthless and precise as a scalpel. Anyone who witnessed this moment was left breathless. tornado appeared in the distance like a giant ghost screaming in the sky. It rushed forward, swallowing everything in its path. Roofs were torn off, cars were thrown into the air like toys, trees were uprooted, electric poles were broken. Nothing could stop it. The tornado did more than destroy. It crushed hope in an instant. A living nightmare was sweeping through this place. They seemed harmless, dry tumbleweeds, drifting silently in the wind. But then, thousands, tens of thousands of tumbleweeds suddenly came, swirling like a tidal wave, flooding the streets, burying cars and houses. The wind howled, the tumbleweeds piled up into mountains, blocking all paths, creating a breathtaking scene like the end of the world. The fear called asterisk, tumbleweeds asterisk, silent, monstrous, and uncontrollable. Lurched violently, losing control in midair. In a breathtaking moment, it plummeted to the ground, boom. A terrifying explosion tore through the air, creating a giant mushroom-shaped column of fire that rose dozens of meters high, dyeing the sky with thick black smoke. The ground shook, glass shattered, and people ran in panic. It was not just an accident, but a real-life hellfire. Steaming under the increasingly intense heat. Temperatures are soaring, the dry forests are like powder kegs waiting to burst into flames, and then, pop! A small spark bursts into flames, spreading like a raging fire monster, burning the whole area. Black smoke billows, the sky and earth are red. Forest fires are happening everywhere, no longer a warning, but a terrifying reality that is getting closer and closer to us. Disasters are becoming more and more intense. Flash floods, landslides, tornadoes are no longer far-fetched. They are all happening right before our eyes. Every tree cut down, every river polluted is a warning. If we do not join hands to protect the environment today, tomorrow there will be only dust and tears. Let's act before nature gets angry again, and there is no turning back.